Hi, it's Winston Colleader from Winston.com, and in this screencast I'm going to be giving a quick demonstration of the Command T plugin for Vim. I've got a Mac Vim window open and the plugin's already been installed and compiled, so I won't be going through how to do that part of things. If you're interested in that, you can head over to Winston.com and check out one of the other screencasts. But for now I'm just going to get started with the features. So, to bring the Command T window up, I'm going to hit my leader key followed by T. My leader's comma, so that means comma T. That will show me a list of all the files in the current directory. In this case, we're looking at my home directory. I can dismiss that listing with the escape key. I've also set it up to bring up the window with Command T, same key combination that was used in Vim for the corresponding feature. What I'm going to do now though is switch to another directory, because navigating my home directory, which has about 500,000 files in it, is not going to be the most simple way to demonstrate the plugin. Let's start with something smaller. Let's go to the Command T source code folder itself. You see that it has a bunch of files in it. Let's just say I wanted to open the license file. I could just type the word license, or a shorter segment of it, such as even just LIC, or in fact even just the letter L is enough to narrow the search down to the point where license is the #1 result. So to open that, I just hit the enter key and that opens it up in Vim for me. If I were to want to open something else, let's say the documentation, which is in the doc subdirectory, typing doc is enough to narrow it down to just the file I want, but you will have noticed that even just the letter D in this case was enough to make it the first option. So the interesting thing here to note is that I'm not just limited to typing letters from the file name. I can type letters from anywhere in the path. Let's open this one with Control Enter. That will open it in a horizontal split. So there we go, there's the documentation. Let's look in a bit more detail that point about typing letters from anywhere in the path. Just say I had tried to open the documentation by typing the file name. In this case that's command t.txt. If I type the word command or even T, you'll see that it didn't help me very much at all, because so many files in this directory hierarchy include that word. Didn't really narrow things down for me at all. So it is often quicker to type letters from the entire path to narrow things down all the more quickly. Let's take another example. If I want to open the controller file, I could of course type controller and that would narrow it down for me. But on a large project that may not work, because there may be lots of files which have those letters in that order somewhere in the path. And in that case, it would be useful to be able to get there by typing letters from the path. So let's try a couple of letters from each part of the path, such as RU for Ruby, CO for command, and C for controller. So that was enough. And in fact, on a small project like this one, even just R for Ruby, C for command, and C for controller, just with 3 letters, that was enough to narrow things down to the point where I wanted. So we've seen how to open files, how to open things in horizontal splits. What about opening things in vertical splits? Well, that would be with Control V. And there we go, that was opened in a vertical split. Another way we can open files is using new tab. So let's say I wanted to open the rake file in a new tab. Type a few letters from the file name and hit Control T. That'll open that in a new tab for me. You'll notice when you look at these listings that there are no dot files, and that's because dot files usually aren't very interesting and they just clutter up the listing. But what if you want to open a dot file? Well, in that case you just start your query with a dot, and you'll see there that the .gitignore file appeared, and I can then open that up just like I could any other file. So while we're here, let's look at some of the key bindings that are available for us. I'm going to type some letters here so that you can see what's going on. I've typed in the word controller. You'll notice that if I use the left and right cursor keys, I can move through the search string. Backspace works to delete characters, as does forward delete. I can also use Vim style movement keys, such as Control H to move left and Control L to move right. I can jump to the start of the prompt with Control A. I could jump to the end of the prompt with Control E. Let me just demonstrate that again. Control A to the start, Control E to the end, and Control U to clear the prompt. I can dismiss, as you've already seen, with Escape or with Control C. That's not all. I can also hit Tab to change the focus up into the match listing itself. And in the match listing, the down and up keys do work to move, as do Control J and Control K. In fact, those same bindings of down and up and Control J and Control K work when I have the prompt focus. But I'm going to switch and focus the match listing again. The match listing has a type ahead find functionality, so if I want to jump down to the doc search result, hitting D will jump down there. If I want to jump down to the license, hitting L will jump there. If I want to jump back up to the first result, I'll hit C and it'll show me the first file starting with C. Let's take a look at the type ahead nature of the find. If I hit M, that'll jump down to the first match starting with M, in this case makefile. But if I type multiple letters consecutively, I can narrow that search down and make it a little bit more precise. So for example, MU will jump to multi-spec. Alright, so that's all I'm going to show on this particular project. I'm going to switch now to a bigger one. This particular one that I'm going to switch to, if I can just find it, is a Ruby on Rails application. And Ruby on Rails applications are usually pretty good demonstrations of plugins like this one because they tend to have a lot of files in them. This one's no exception. It has about 7,000 files due to the number of things that are kept in the vendor subdirectory. And another reason why Rails projects are a good example of file navigation plugins is because they tend to have a lot of extremely similar file names. So if I, for example, type the word issues, you see that in this project there are literally dozens of files which contain the word issue or issues. We're talking about features, helpers, controllers, views, models, specs for all of the above. And as you can see, typing letters just from the path is actually quite limiting. The ability to specify characters from anywhere in the path enables us to drill down so much faster towards what we're looking for. Let's just say I wanted to open the issues controller in the admin namespace. I could type a couple of letters from each part of the path. For example, app, con, add for admin, and you can see there that I've already narrowed it down to the admin controllers, and then is enough to narrow it down to the issues controller where I was looking for it. What happens if you add a new file to a directory while you're looking at it with Command T? Well, I'm going to do that now. I'm going to add a file called foo, and I'm going to write that to the directory. You'll see that if I type foo, oh, there already was a file called foo. Let me create another file. This one I'm going to call bar, and I'm going to write it. If I search for bar, bar is nowhere to be found, and the reason is that when Command T first enters a directory and scans it, it keeps a copy cached in memory for speed. If you want to create new files or delete or rename or anything like that, you have to tell Command T to refresh itself. So we do that with the Command T flush command. And now, when I search for bar, it does find it because it's rescanned. We use that same Command T flush ability, for example, to change the settings of the plugin without having to restart Vim. So let's make one such change. Oops. I'm going to change the height of the Command T window itself. I'm going to set it to, let's say, 5. There'll be no change if I just bring the Command T window up now. But if I flush and thus force it to reread, you'll notice that now I get a much slimmer Command T window. All the files are still there. It's just the number of results which is shown is kept to a minimum. So let's just say I wanted to open a spec, for example. You see that as I type spec, it still knows about all the files, even though it's only showing me a small number of them. I'm going to put things back the way they were before. I'm going to set the maximum height to 0, which basically means no limit. And I'm going to flush again. And now you'll see the window is back to its former size. Okay, so that's all I'm going to demonstrate for now. If you'd like to find out more about the plugin, you can look at the help, which I've actually still got open there. As you can see, it talks about the requirements, the installation procedure, the usage, and the mappings which are available, and a bunch of options that you can use to customize the behavior of the plugin. So I hope you've enjoyed the screencast, and if you've got any questions or would like to get in touch with me, my contact details are on the winston.com website. Okay, thanks a lot.